This is the World Organic News for the week ending 29th of January 2018. John Moore reporting. This week I'm focusing on just one idea: energy storage. This has mainly meant energy as liquid, especially in the last 100 years: oil, petrol, diesel and liquefied petroleum gas. There have been changes, and more are on the way. The humble AA battery is now ubiquitous, yet we all know the problems associated with those. They run flat, they're not easily recycled, and require, nowadays, lithium. Lithium supplies can be controlled by nation states. This just moves the control of oil issues of the Middle East to other places. That being the case, individuals and companies are going all in on the lithium battery. Elon Musk and the Tesla Group with their vehicles and battery factories, and they are not alone, but are the most quoted in the media. UK billionaire Sanjeev Gupta wants to take over vehicle production facilities in Australia that have been abandoned by internal combustion engine producers, turn those facilities into electric vehicle production units. In particular, he is looking at the old Holden plant in South Australia. And South Australia is also the site of a Tesla's mega battery. Does that company have any other adjective? Anyway, Tesla's mega battery was a response to a power outage 2 summers ago in South Australia. For some reason, the governing Federal Conservative Coalition decided the power failure was a result of too many renewables in South Australia. This is the same government, not technically different Prime Minister and Parliament, but the same mob. This is the same government whose Treasurer told Parliament he thought wind farms were ugly and preferred coal mines and the associated power plants as much easier on the eye. So you can see what they're up against. It turns out the gas-fired backup plant was turned off, as it was deemed not economic to turn it on the day that South Australia's power system went down. Following the political brouhaha, Musk put his 2 bobs worth in and offered to build a mega battery within 100 days or the South Australians could have it for free. Long story short, the battery went in next to a wind farm and works as designed. But these things are never going to decarbonise the electric grid quickly enough to mitigate climate change. I reported last year on a study locating around 1,000 usable sites for pumped storage. Pumped storage uses an energy source, fossil or green, and takes the excess energy, uses it to pump water uphill to a reservoir where it is held until power is required. The water then runs downhill to a lower reservoir, running the pumps backwards to create electricity. Clearly, this form of storage is ideal for renewables. Indeed, large numbers of identified pumped storage sites are abandoned mines and quarries. That being the case, there's plenty of space around for solar PV and or wind farms adjacent to these locations. Also so obvious, I wonder why this isn't being supported by the government. It's almost as if they have some connection with the fossil fuel industry. Almost. Anyway, the process is actually working in Scotland, so the idea is a starter. So let's look bigger. Back in the 1980s, a huge environmental effort went into stopping Hydro Tasmania from damming a wild river in the southwest of Tasmania on the Gordon below Franklin. The dam was stopped, the Green Party was born in Australia, and the hydro was branded environmental vandals. Jump forward 30 years and you can see where this might be going, and pump storage, Paris commitments and summers of heat waves have people looking for solutions. Tassie Hydro has almost a century of experience with the technology of pumping water and generating electricity from it. From bad guys to saviours? Maybe. And there are other ideas about. The Australian government's solution relies on retweaking a giant hydro system known as the Hydro Scheme, built largely by immigrant workers in the immediate post-war period in the Australian Alps. It provides power and pumps snow melt west of the ranges to irrigate grapes and citrus. But that's a whole other episode. The Snowy Mark II solution, as it is being called, is expensive. $2 billion or thereabouts, plus cost overruns obviously. Hydro Tassie has been suggesting a much cheaper solution since 2012. Tasmania is the island state, in that it is an island obviously. The problem with the Tassie Hydro solution is the interconnector cable between the island and the mainland. It's not big enough. For the cost of 2 or 3 extra interconnector cables, the entire Australian grid could be placed on both pump storage and renewables. Australia is a big place with a small population. There's plenty of spots for both energy farms and localised grid pump storage solution, and with Tassie as the battery for the Federation solution. The main problem as ever, and I'm really getting weary of saying this, is vested interests. Changing to 100% renewables with a reliable battery, read Tasmania, would not be good for shareholders of coal mines and coal-fired power stations. The usual fear campaign of jobs lost will, and already is, running. But really, the coal industry provides very few jobs. Most of the processes are automated. Some mines even use self-driving trucks to cut the coal from the open cut surfaces. Imagine a nation running on nothing but renewables. Then imagine that nation moving to regenerative agriculture, the twin results of decarbonising the power grid and recarbonising the soil. All this is doable, people, and doable with current technologies, everywhere. Carbon out of energy, carbon into soil. There's a bumper sticker I can get behind. And with that thought, I'll finish for this week. If you'd like to podcast yourself, drop over to mrjohnmoore.com. There's a link in the show notes, and check out my course. I've been teaching this at community colleges around town and have developed an online version. The next session starts on the 1st of March this year, and I'd really like to see you there. A transcript of this episode is available at worldorganicnews.com. Thanks for listening, and I'll be back at the same time next week.